You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. With me again today is my good friend and co-host, Matt Gannon. Matt, welcome back to the show. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm great, buddy. I just got back from Boston for the weekend, and
Very nice.
I could just feel the Bruins' energy surrounding me. It's like just being a fish out of water. But don't worry, I had all of my Bolts gear on. I let them know who was boss, who was in charge, and I'm gonna be honest. I wore these clothes with the intention of getting a couple of FUs and whatever, but honestly, I got more compliments than I did negative comments. So
Really?
I'd say task failed successfully. So a good weekend all around. It looks like we got some news ahead of us. How you doing, buddy? Do anything fun this week?
I'm doing great, and just had a pretty normal week. Been watching some football. With football, I'm kicked back into it. Glad to hear, though, you got some compliments in Boston's territory with your Lightning shirts. Were you perhaps wearing a RBLR stylized Lightning shirt, which, by the way, you can pick up on our shop at RBLR.com. So make sure you go check that out. I know early advertisement for the shirts today, but don't forget you can also use code BOLTS for 10% off your order as well. Had to squeeze that in there, Matt. You nailed that transition a couple of weeks ago. One of our older podcasts. I'm like, I have to get a good one in there as well. But no, my week was good.
You nailed that one, man. I'm a one-hit wonder. So
that one was good. But no, I had a good week. Football, got underway. So I've been playing some fantasy football, watching the Bucks do their thing. So it's been a fun time, but we are finally getting into hockey season. We got a lot of news starting to come out. Development camp and the prospect showcase, which we'll get into in just a minute here, is right around the corner. So lots of exciting things coming. The Lightning released a bunch of news these last couple of days. And it's funny. I don't know about you, Matt, but I was talking to one of my other friends, and we're both sitting there saying, like, can the Lightning release some news, please? Like, we are ready for some news. And then literally, I think, like, a couple hours later, we got it. We got what we asked for. But let's get right into things. Let's start talking about some of this news. So the first thing I want to talk about is this was released a couple of days ago, but the Lightning officially announced the dates for the prospect showcase. It's going to be starting September 16th. The Lightning will be taking on the Predators at 1 p.m. They have a game on September 18th, Lightning versus the Panthers, and then a game September 19th, which is the Hurricanes versus the Lightning. So 3 games for the prospect showcase, taking on the 16th, 18th, and 19th. None of them are at Amalie Arena. They're taking place. 2 of them are at PNC Arena. And then one of them is at Invisalign Arena, which I actually have no idea where that is.
I couldn't tell you.
Might be a Nashville thing because they are playing the Predators. But either way, Prospect Showcase is right around the corner. They also announced the roster for all the players that are going to be there. Nobody really out of the ordinary in this one. Of course, you got guys like Jack Finley, Gabriel Frontier, Gage Gonclaves. Only 2 goaltenders. You have Alnefeld and LaFontaine, who is also the other goaltender for the Lightning. Alnefeld is the one that has the most experience and is one guy that some people expect could be a future backup for the Lightning the next couple of years. So he's someone maybe you want to keep your eye on. But Matt, I'm not sure if you've seen the roster. Is there anything you're specifically looking forward to here for the prospect showcase?
Well, of course, my recency bias is going to kick in here. I'm really, I don't know how deeply I'm going to watch it or even if it is going to be accessible for me, but I'm excited to see what Lucas Edmonds can bring. I'm really, really high on this kid. I just can't wait to see what he can do, but also Jack Finley and Jack Thompson. I think Thompson's probably the most NHL ready out of the bunch there, I'd say. It's definitely going to be hard to, see him in the lineup, but just overall, the most mature, it seems like, ready to take that next step, I'd say. So, those are kind of the three players I've isolated to kind of keep an eye on, the ones that I want to see take that next step, especially in this tournament. And of course, Hugo as well. Hugo from Sweden, he's top pucks. Um, you know, I hopefully he can, get some experience in and carve his way out to be a future backup for the Big Cat.
Yeah, and you nailed, or you named a couple of big guys that I'm definitely keeping my eye on as well. Jack Thompson's an interesting one for me as well. It's 6 foot, 178 pounds. He's a big guy, so he's got that defensive ability kind of built into him already, and being such a tall guy. So he's another player I'm keeping my eye on as well. But we'll definitely, I can't wait for those games to come. I'll definitely be watching those so we can talk about it here on the podcast as well. But just nice to have dates for hockey, right? That's the best part about all that. I think the Lightning will be streaming these games. They usually stream them on their website. So I would expect them to do that as well. But in a couple of days, you'll be able to watch officially some Lightning hockey here that's coming up just around the corner. But to the next thing I want to talk about, the Lightning announced a new radio ship partnership. They've always been streaming on iHeartRadio on the Lightning station, but the new one is going to be 102.5 The Bone. So a new partnership for Lightning Radio, still the same crew as it's always been. I believe they're still going to be on Sirius XM. That is not changing, but the main home for the Lightning will now be 102.5 The Bone. So some cool news, help builds that local fan base. And the Lightning were talking about it in their press release, and mentioning that radio station specifically, I guess they got stronger radio waves, so they're able to reach a larger amount of the Tampa area, which is why they mainly wanted to choose them. So that was actually pretty interesting, and obviously that's going to be great for the Lightning. Helps them, build a little more of that fan base, if it's some casual fans that may be out in like Lakeland or something that normally don't get Lightning games, and now they'll be able to listen to them. So a cool partnership to see the Lightning branching out and building their radio presence, because they were really hard to listen to on iHeartRadio. I don't think a ton of people really knew about that.
No, I always, if I was going to tune into the radio broadcast, I'd just listen in on the app, and it was always kind of glitchy, like on the NHL app. And it was always kind of glitchy, always buffering, and it could either be like fine one day or even one period and be just super low quality, buggy, scratchy, staticky the next day. So, when I first saw that they made that partnership, I didn't really look into it, but you saying that they might be able to reach a broader audience, that's actually really neat. So hopefully, even despite nobody listening to the radio, and especially not listening to sports on the radio, it might reach a couple of people farther out. As long as it gets to a couple of maybe new fans, good for the game. So I like your outlook on that.
Here's the press release that they had. I'm going to read this line from it. It says they have it's the largest signal in the state of Florida, with 100,000 watts, serving Tampa Bay and Sarasota and extending into Fort Myers and Lakeland. So that was what they specifically said in the press release. So I don't know. I'm not a radio guy or a tech guy, so I don't know what that exactly means. But apparently they're going to be able to reach more people on the radio, which is really good to see. But we also had some
broadcast in the Panthers territory now too.
Taken over. We're not only their big brother on the ice, but also off the ice as well. I love that.
Through the air.
That's fantastic. Here's the news that I personally was most excited for. Matt, if you remember, we've been talking about for a little while now, if the Lightning were going to release a 30th anniversary logo, as that was, teams have done that in the past. We hadn't heard anything though, but the Lightning just today released their 30th anniversary logo. So Matt, have you gotten a chance to see it yet?
I did. It actually looks great. I think it looks a lot better than the 25th anniversary logo. Of course, I think that quarter century mark's a little bit more significant, but as far as logos go, I think this one looks really good.
I love it. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it's simple. It's nothing crazy. It's just a 30 and the 0 is the Lightning logo, but I really like what they did with it. It's kind of got like a little bubbly feel. I don't, that's a really weird way to describe it, but that's what the kind of vibes I got. Um, but it looks great. I love when teams do this kind of thing. It's just a fun little Easter egg, if you will, for the team's history. And in 30 years, that's a pretty cool accomplishment for the team to hit. 30 years is a big marker there for the Lightning. So cool to see that they put the logo down there at center ice. It looks great. And it's just nice to see that beautiful white ice laying down there at Amalie Arena like it should be. Right, Matt?
It looks great, man. I mean, I it's about the most excited I've been for a season in a while, especially with the just the fresh painted ice. It's just one of the most aesthetically pleasing sights you could see, especially with that new logo on there, the 30th anniversary logo. Side note, are we getting like jersey patches with that? Do you know anything about that? I'm pretty sure we did that for the 25th
Yes.
anniversary. Okay, so I'm
We
gonna
did
have
it.
to assume that they will.
Yeah, we did it for the 25th. I haven't heard anything. They haven't announced that if they're going to have patches. It wouldn't surprise me. Actually, this will be a good transition. I would imagine they're not going to have a patch if there's going to be a jersey ad, because I think that would kind of
Mm.
conflict with it, especially if you get into the Stanley Cup Finals when you have that patch as well. That's something that's always thought is interesting to me, is when teams have these extra patches, but if you throw the jersey ad on there as well, then you get to the finals. Which one gets removed? How does that work?
That's true.
But
And there's go on.
no, keep going. Go.
I mean, like the Sabres for a while, they had the front numbers on there as well too. So yeah, you got to imagine if let's say they made it to the finals, had a jersey ad and like an anniversary patch. That's just busy all across the chest.
Right?
So
I
that's a
don't know
good
how
point.
that would
That's a good
exactly
point.
work.
Yeah,
But I
I
also
guess maybe
wanted
we'll stick with the center ice logo.
Yeah, also wanted to bring it up though because for those of you that haven't seen or don't follow Eureka on Twitter, which if you're not following Eureka on Twitter, this man posts some amazing tweets out there, so be sure to go give him a follow as well. But I think he was specifically trying to push my buttons, and he posted a rendering, if you will, of what a Lightning soccer jersey would look like if the sponsor was Publix. It is you got to go check it out for yourself. He basically just threw a giant Publix logo right in the middle of the jersey and put a tiny Lightning logo where the supposed ad would go instead. It is quite funny, and if you love Publix, it's a great jersey. If you're into that
That's
kind
why
of
I
thing, then
wasn't
pub
so
subs.
opposed. I wasn't as appalled by it as it seems like you were, Jake. I was kind of vibing with it.
It's the ads, man. You guys know I've talked about this on the podcast before. The people are probably sick of like, oh, Jake's talking about the ads again. But I just don't like the ads. I don't like it at all. I don't want to see your jerseys with it. I'm still holding hope that the Lightning aren't going to have one. I will say, though, is that there is a way to do it right. I posted on Twitter a little while ago about some of the ones that looked really bad, like the Canadians, Minnesotas, and Pittsburghs. I think all look terrible. But the Capitals and the Blue Jackets specifically, their ads aren't bad. The Capitals have a small, it's small in the corner and it's white, so it blends in with their white and red jersey. Same thing for Columbus, small in the corner, and it fits with the color scheme of the jersey. So that makes it a lot less noticeable and definitely more stomachable for me, at least. So there is a right way to do it, and hopefully if the Lightning decide to go with a jersey ad, they do something similar. That's one thing Eureka did well on his little graphic he made, is that the Publix logo was white, and that could blend in. But not as big as he made it. We cannot cover up that beautiful Lightning crest with a Publix logo. I don't care how much you like pub subs. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Be sure to go on Twitter and check it out. And hey, maybe you guys have some graphic skills. Let's see what you guys can come up with your crazy jersey ad ideas. But in other news, though, we also have some dates for the Lightning's 30th anniversary season kickoff event taking place at Amalie Arena. It's going to be on Sunday, October 1st, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then also they have a open practice on Sunday, October 2nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as well. So some minor news there, but I know a lot of people are into that kind of stuff. The Lightning usually do a fantastic job of putting on those kinds of events. They have awesome different games, and they're going to have players there for interviews and signings and stuff like that. They're also having a concert as well at that event. So if you're in the area,
the one and only Smash Mouth.
that's right. Yeah. So that should be fun.
Come on, don't bury the lead, Jake.
But if you're in the area, definitely recommend going to check that out. I'm going to try to be there myself so we can talk about the event and cover it a little bit as well. So, but just a cool thing the Lightning are doing for their 30th anniversary. I thought they would maybe release that 30th anniversary logo during that event. I'm still wondering if they maybe will tease something during that. They don't usually do that, but we're still waiting on, well, a jersey ad and also the reverse retros 2.0. So that would be a very cool place to release something like that. So maybe they do something like that. I don't know, but are you going to head over to that 30th anniversary event?
I would love to, as of right now, I am working that date, but work can wait. I think that's a lot more important. If it doesn't work out, I know at the very least I'll try to go to that open practice there. Is it going to be at Emily or is it going to be at Brandon? Did it say?
It's at Emily.
Okay. Yeah, I'm because that's going to be on a Monday or something. I hate working the weekends, but no, the anniversary kickoff, whatever they're calling it, it sounds like a great time. I know they did it couple of years ago as well. They had like the game show and Q&A, whatever else it is. So I would love to, but I will try my very best.
I'm hoping I can get down there to see it as well, because they do a really nice job with those events as well. But continuing with the news cycle, the Lightning also had another big announcement. It was kind of blended in with the 30th anniversary logo announcement. But Matt, if you remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about a potential Ring of Honor for the Lightning, and the Lightning are getting something similar. It's not going to be a Ring of Honor, but the Lightning did announce a Hall of Fame coming soon to Amalie Arena. There's not many details on it at all of where it's going to be, how it's going to look or anything like that. The only thing we do know is that the Lightning are planning on announcing the first couple of inductees at a game later this season. So that'll be something to look forward to as we get closer to the start of the season. But I'm really excited for this. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I was someone who was really pushing for a Ring of Honor. I thought that would have been so cool. And this isn't exactly the same thing, but I love to see that they are doing something special to honor some of the former players and maybe even staff as well. I know some people have been floating out Rick Peckham needs to be in there, or even Bobby the Chief Taylor maybe, or something like that. So cool to see. I'm excited to see how this is going to look, and I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, as far as the whole staffing goes and people within the organization, that's crucial. A lot of other teams did that as well. It's not just the players on the ice. It is the voices, it's the faces, it's just the people behind the scenes that you don't know, that you don't really notice. But yeah, you pointed out some great names like the Chief, like Rick Peckham. Even though that guy's got a whole studio named after him now.
He does.
He still deserves the world. So that would be really
honestly, he deserves to go on the rafters.
Seriously, yeah. What would Rick's number be?
I always imagined it'd be like a little microphone that went up on a banner, not a number.
That'd be cool. He was the voice of the Lightning for the longest time. I've got nothing but the highest level of affinity for Rick. I'm sure you do as well. You little junior broadcaster, you. So, no, that he's like my first ballot for like a non-player to be inducted into the Lightning Hall of Fame. If not him, then probably Espo.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of names that could go into a Hall of Fame like this as well. So it's also going to be interesting to see where they do it. I know some people were suggesting maybe the 300s because that is kind of gotten outdated a little bit and isn't the nicest up there. But like I said, there are basically no details. We only know that it's going to happen and they're going to be putting in a couple of players later this season. So we'll have to wait and see what the details are. Of course, we will cover it for you guys as soon as we know about it. but it's something to look forward to later this season. And listen, Matt, I'm not saying RBLR was the one who pushed this idea forward, but we did talk about it, and then like a week later, the announcement came. So, well, I'm just saying, I don't know. Next things next, though, I want to talk about something a little bit fun, since we are still waiting for officially hockey to get underway. But Matt, I don't know if you saw, but the Bolt Report a couple of days put out a fun little thing where we did the top 5 Lightning playoff goals of all time. And I got to say, this was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. So I want to ask you first, can you name top 5 Lightning playoff goals of all time?
So you did ask us, like, for suggestions and whatever, and just the first, synapse in my brain just said, okay, this, and this. And I started thinking about, I'm like, okay, these are all great, but what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? But this one was excellent, but you can't leave that one out. It was, you're really understating how difficult it is. I mean, 5 is just 5. It's hard with all the success in such a short amount of time. I don't think I ever saw your finished product, but I
Well,
don't
I'm
know.
pulling it up right now, so I'll read it to you. Here are the top 5 that I had to give you kind of an idea. So we'll start from the bottom. Number 5 for me was Tyler Johnson's last second goal against the Montreal Canadiens. That goal was fantastic. I remember every fan in disbelief when that goal happened. Number 4 was Braden Point's OT marathon winner as well. And then number 3, Coleman's Superman goal in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Montreal Canadiens. Number 2 was Vinny's goal to Fedotenko in the Stanley Cup Finals, the game-winning goal as well. And then number 1, of course, is Marty's goal to force Game 7 against the Calgary Flames. So that was my top 5 that
I kind of cut out for number 4. Was that the Braden Point septuple
Points OT
or
marathon
okay.
goal. Yep, exactly.
Okay, yeah. No, I honestly, as difficult as it is, I think you put together as good of a list as you possibly could. I think you've got Marty's right where it should be. I think that one is probably the most, as of right now, the most iconic goal, I'd say, at least, with visuals and the call as well to go with it, with Gary Thorne calling it, Marty St. Louis, we're going back to Tampa Bay.
Right.
That's a great one. The only thing that I can really say, I don't know which one I would replace it with, but the Stamkos one shift, one shot, one goal, that one.
That was on my top 10 list.
That's yeah. I'm sure it's probably like number 6 or 7 for you, but I'm sure give it a couple more years, it will really kind of go down in the Lightning, storybook of being one of the most incredible playoff goals of all time. Not even just the team, but in history. My bias is showing a little bit, but. It is still
right.
very fresh.
Yeah, it was so hard to do, and there are so many goals that so many people forget about. Like, for example, when I did this, I put it together, and then 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about the Stamkos goal. I got to fit that one in there somehow. That's why I actually went and made basically a top 10 list and then tried to eliminate some of them. That didn't make things any easier. But you also have Vinny's in between the legs goal against Montreal. That was on Michael's top 5 list, my co-host over there at the Bolt Report. But there's so many others too. There's the first playoff goal that the Lightning scored. That was a really fun one. You have Ross Colton's Stanley Cup winning goal. That was also a great goal. Nick Paul's between the legs goal against Toronto. A lot of people really love that goal as well. I mean, they just go on and on and on. There's so many different ones. It's so hard to pick. I throw the challenge to our listeners is what I need to do. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What are your top 5 Lightning playoff goals of all time? Tweet us at RBLR Sports. We would love to hear from you guys. It's a challenge, and it's very hard to do, and I'm sure you guys will come up with some that we haven't even mentioned here so far because there are so many good goals. You know what I did notice, Matt? There are a lot of famous playoff goals against the Montreal Canadiens. You
Yes,
could
there are.
almost make a top 5 list of just Montreal Canadian goals.
What would be your favorite or most iconic or most beautiful playoff goal against the Canadians?
Man, that might even be harder. I don't know. I would be tempted to pick the goal against or Tyler Johnson's last second goal. Even though I put that one lower than Coleman's goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, because I was trying to go for like shocking goals. And the only reason I put Tyler Johnson's above Coleman's is because you kind of knew against the Canadians in the Stanley Cup Finals, the Lightning had a very high chance of winning that series. Even though some could argue that Coleman goal, that was a close game. Even though the series was 4-1, there were a couple of close games there. Specifically, that was in game number 2, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and Montreal was right there until Coleman scored that last second goal, and the Lightning kind of took over in the third period. But Tyler Johnson's goal, that was one that nobody saw coming. Everybody was thinking we're going to overtime. We're going to have to go up against Carey Price, who's playing really well right now. And then just out of nowhere, the Lightning made one last push, didn't give up, and score it was like, 0.3 seconds, something like that.
I think it was like 0.1 when it like crossed over the line where you could see white. It was literally as close as you can get.
Actually, I think it was a little. There wasn't much, but I think there was a little more because I remember when they went to review it, and
it was clear.
It was clear as day the puck had gone in. I also love the video of that goal when they cut to the bench. You can see like head athletic trainer Tom Mulligan just doing the goal motion. He's like, that is in. That is 100% a goal. It was fantastic.
That was great. I've got a sleeper pick for the best playoff goal against the Canadians.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
It's not the best, but it's one of my favorites. It was against the Canadians in the finals. It was game 2 or 3, I'm pretty sure. But it was when it was behind Carey Price's net. I think it was Jeff Petrie had the puck, and it was Palat and Kucherov in on the forecheck.
Yes.
Kucherov said, back, like trying to pretend he was one of the Canadians players starting the breakout. Jeff Petrie just blind passes it right to Palat and stuffs it past Carey Price. That one was one of my favorites.
That's a great goal, for sure.
That's a high IQ goal.
Yes. And see, that was what I was debating too, because you could do a list where you go, most skilled goals. But I was trying to go for, the most iconic. Yeah. The goals where you sat there and said, oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened. Yeah. That was my idea.
That was difficult for me when you asked me, because there's been plenty of beautiful goals that were scored that just weren't nearly as impactful. Like I'm gonna think back to this most recent finals against the Avalanche. That one Kucherov to Palat passing play where they danced Makar and Taves. That one was just phenomenal. One of the best goals I've seen any member of the Lightning play in 30 years. Not even just a finals or playoff goal. It was beautiful, but at the end of the day, it just didn't really, it didn't have the same level of oomph that, the other goals had. Like the Braden Point 5 overtime goal, that one was just a shot from, through traffic, high up, almost,
he kind of just threw it on net almost.
Exactly. It was a rebound off a player and just threw it on net, and it just so happened to go in. Not at all a pretty goal. I'd actually call it a bad goal, at least for the goalie to let in, but just because it was a 8-period game.
Right. It's the emotions you feel in that game because, for Lightning fans, it was you were sitting there. You're like, oh, my goodness, this is going so long. We're trying to beat Columbus here after what they did to us in 2019. You're probably sweating so much. You're like, I started watching. That game started at what, like 1 o'clock? It was now almost 6 o'clock by that point. I think it was like a 5-hour game, wasn't it?
I don't think I've
Something crazy.
told this story on the podcast before, but so I had just recently moved into a new house. We didn't have any kind of cable or any kind of network or anything, and I didn't know any reliable stream sites at the time, anything that wouldn't give my computer whatever. I just had nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bar down the street. It's a sports bar. It's called Overtime Sports Bar and Grill, oddly enough. Um, and so I watched the game there from start to pretty much finish, whenever you can quantify that. So sat through 3 periods, overtime, and just keep getting food, keep getting drinks. And at a certain point, after the end of the second overtime, my girlfriend was ready. She was ready to go home. So between intermissions, it drove her back, and I was like, I can't miss this. It's triple overtime. It's just insane. How could I miss this? So I drive back to the
Right.
bar. We're in quadruple overtime, still nothing happening, and then it's going into the fifth overtime, and I'm like, you know what? It's like 9 o'clock. I've been here for 6 hours,
No.
something like that. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just listen to the radio broadcast at home. I'll just have to bite the bullet. So, um, I
I don't like
I
where this
go
is
back.
going, Matt.
I go back home, and I finally find a streaming site that is reliable, can actually get me the game without buffering every 20 seconds. And as soon as I press play, I just see Braden Point celebrating, the whole team celebrating.
Oh,
I missed the
no.
goal. I missed the goal, but I had the same sort of elation from it. It was still, I was still just on cloud nine. But again, I missed the goal after waiting there for what, 6-7 hours, whatever it was. Pretty
That's
much
that's
three
brutal.
entire hockey games.
And that's what makes that goal so great, right? Because you were waiting for so long, and it was just the anticipation was so big, especially because it was that first game against the Columbus Blue Jackets again. And I remember them scoring that. And I just remember half of me was just thinking, yes, this game is over. Thank goodness we won. Because that's a game too where you lose that one. That is a deflating game to lose. Even though it's only game one, it was basically what, 2 games is what they
Yeah.
essentially played.
Or
It was
almost three, because
that's right. Yeah.
it
It was
was
almost 3.
pretty
If they would
much
have gone to
so.
6 overtimes, it would have been 3 games, technically speaking.
Yeah, because it was in the bubble, and they actually had Carolina and Boston were going to be the next teams to play. And once
That's
the
right. They had
Lightning
to
finished up, they
delay the game.
postponed it to the next day. So
Nobody sat there and thought that they were going to have to delay that game, and then all of a sudden, the Lightning and the Blue Jackets are like, "Nah, we're gonna make this one take a little bit longer."
I remember there was a good picture from the game. It was both the Hurricanes and the Bruins in uniform, just standing up in the Zamboni hallway there, just waiting for the game to finish, like an old game of Pee Wee. It was just a funny picture. And then they ended
Yeah.
up just having to de-suit and wait for wait for their turn.
Point celebration is also fantastic in that goal because it's the same kind of thing. Like he almost doesn't know what to do with himself. He's just so happy that they finally scored and won that game. Where he's almost like he does this giddy little jump or something like that. He can't even move his hands up. He's so tired from playing such a long game. I love that celebration as well. But definitely that is up there for me in top goals in Lightning history. Here's a couple other ones, by the way, that some people threw in the comments on our tweet as well. Gord's Game 7 goal against the Islanders. That is another good one as well. One of those. I think that goal was like one. It was 0-0 at the time. I think it was a 1-0 goal.
It was a 1-0 game.
Yeah, that's a great goal as well. Definitely for sure.
And it was shorthanded too.
That's right. It was shorthanded as well. This one got the most likes. It said one of my favorites was McDonough's feed to Kucherov in the final 8 seconds to beat the Islanders in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2020. Bolts had no business winning that game. Magical goal. And see, again, that's what I like, right? That magical goal. You weren't expecting it to happen, and all you could think was, oh my goodness, all those different emotions running through your head. I think that's what makes those goals special.
That
So
was
that's
the John Cooper fist pump celebration, if you can remember that.
That's right. Ah,
Mhm.
man, oh, going through this stuff just makes me think of all these top moments. Like you could do the top 5 playoff goals, the top 5 playoff goals against the Montreal Canadiens, top 5 celebrations by John Cooper. There's so many fun things that you could go and look at. And the Lightning are very fortunate to have so many special moments that it's actually difficult to go through. I mean, there's teams out there that don't have any of these kind of moments. I mean, you look at this is football, but the Detroit Lions, they haven't been able to win anything. So, and there, you got the hockey equivalents too, as well, obviously, but the Lightning in their 30-year history to go full circle here, have had some fantastic moments as well. And there's probably a couple that we haven't even mentioned that we're forgetting about too, as well, that were fantastic. Marty has a lot of those goals as well. When I was going through trying to watch some of these playoff goals to remember some of them, Marty has like 6 or 7 goals in the playoffs that were huge goals as well.
Next week, it's going to be playoff lowlights. Starting off with Ben
I
Bishop
don't
and
like
Victor
that
Hedman
episode.
colliding.
Oh no!
Sorry, I'm going to be sick that day.
That's definitely probably the worst one, right? There's nothing worse than
Blowing a 3-0 lead to Columbus in game 1.
Matt, this is a positive vibes only channel. Okay, we are not going through these depressing moments. Now you got me thinking about it too.
We can laugh about it now. If we never won those 2 cups, I would never bring it up ever again.
Right? Yeah, that really did save the franchise. I want to put it. I mean, it was bad. And then we got in the next 2 years. Heck, with all the Stanley Cup celebrating we've had with boat parades, you might even be able to do the top 5 Stanley Cup celebrations from the boat parades or something like that. And hopefully we're going to have some more coming up here in year number 30 as well. But Matt, I don't know about you. I'm excited for this season here right around the corner. We got the Prospect Showcase. The 30th anniversary logo is out. We've got a fun event coming up by the Lightning to kick off year number 30. So much to look forward to. Is there anything else though before we wrap things up here?
No, not that I can think of really too much. I got a quick side note. Like always, I am the mariner of the show. I'm always looking to buy a new boat or something. I've got my eyes on one, and it needs a name. So I inquired in one of the Lightning groups on Facebook. I was like, hey, if you had to name a boat, a Lightning themed something, what would you do? And I got a couple of good suggestions, and I just want to point out some of my favorite was Vasilevsky and
That's a good one.
John Slooper, because a sailboat, it's a sloop. So I just wanted to know if either of you two, Eureka, I might drag you into it, had any decent ideas. I'm not that clever, as you guys know.
The Vass was it Vasilevsky? I think that might be my favorite. That one's pretty darn good. That's hard to do. Eureka threw in the chat.
It's funny,
here.
Man.
He said Bolty McBoatface.
Oh, you said Bolty McBoat? Oh, that's
Bolty
terrific, actually.
That's a good one as well. I my personal vote would be for the Vasilevsky. I think that one's my favorite. But hey, listeners out there too as well, if you guys have a name to chime in there as well, let us know. Matt, you're gonna have to tell us which name you end up choosing there for your new boat as well.
I'll let you know.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode and listening to our goofy selves talk about these fun things. Hockey season is right around the corner, though. In just a couple of weeks here, we'll actually be able to talk about some real hockey, some real things going on. So don't forget to follow us on Twitter at RBLR Sports so you don't miss out on any new podcast for the Lightning or any of the other teams. Rays and Bucks still going on strong right now. Rays are getting ready to gear up for a postseason run. Bucks officially underway. Rowdies are kicking off their season or underway for their season right now. So don't forget to follow us. Also, if you could take a second, give us that 5-star rating, subscribe to the channel, hit that follow button, whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening to. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot, and it means a lot. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.